I have some news for you. The Gitz lists for 4th. I hope you have bounders. I hope you have lots of bounders, guys. Okay. Oh, wait. First, I forgot to thank my patrons. I'm making a video now, by the way. So, thanks to all my patrons, my boss patrons in particular. If you're interested in hanging out and working on lists and going into TTS, that is something that I do with my patrons. So if that interests you, be sure to go over to Patreon. You guys know how to find me. And if you are a patron, be sure to hit me up, because I've been doing nothing but writing lists for 2 bloody days, and I'm sure it'll be a few more. Why Barian makes good art? Buy some dice. Okay, so let's look at some Gitz lists. Let's look at some Squig lists first. So right off the rip, they're all in the Squigalanche subfaction, which means that all of the Squigs are getting +1 attacks on the charge. So I wrote one list. Whatever. Okay, so here's the first list. So our general is Scragrot, 220 points. We really like him because he can control the light of the bad moon. That's less relevant in a Gitz list, or sorry, in a Squig list, because the bonus that we get from the light of the bad moon is not as significant. It doesn't really matter as much. But in this Squig list, we are taking 2 reinforced units of Rock Guts, and one of them is going to be the Honor Guard, and we're going to take Bodyguard. This is just the way that we can keep our Scraggy safe and keep our castle safe. And then in addition, we're taking a unit of 10 Boingrot Bounders. Up next for heroes, we have a boss on Giant Cave Squig, and we're giving him Loon Touched, which, if you can't remember, gives him Wizard 1. So this is going to let him cast the Hand of Gork, and this is going to let him cast the Moon if we need it. It's also going to cast Mork's Mighty Mushroom. It's actually kind of cool because he's going to be out on the map running around, right? And so a spell like Spore Maw, for example, Sneaky Distraction, right? It casts on a 7 until the start of your next turn. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they're wholly within 12 inches of the caster. Well, he's going into melee. Okay, so it means that he can sort of cast this on himself, or no, he doesn't cast it on himself, but he casts it on a 7, which is not, amazing, but it's fine. And then he's going to charge in, and then he's going to give -1 to hit, and he's also really good at giving the Bounders extra damage, because he lets them fight immediately after him, and he gives them +1 to hit, and the Bounders are getting +1 damage on the charge. Like, there's a lot of buffs that start stacking up here. So the other option, and then he is also taking the Clammy Cowl. So it's subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target this unit. So it'll be -2 to hit on him if you get your spells off. So pretty good all around. I like it. And then 3 more units of Bounders, reinforced Bounders. This list is playing 40 Bounders. I have some bad news for you guys, but I was doing some stats. I'm not gonna pull them up right here, but I was doing some stats, and Bounders basically are the only Squigs that are like super good and worth playing. The difference is Bounders are a little bit faster, and they're a little bit cheaper, right? You get 10 Bounders for 170 points versus you get 10 Hoppers, which are a little bit faster, for 170 points versus 10 Bounders for 240 points. So that's 70 more points that you need to have the same number of Bounders, but Bounders just hit so much harder than Hoppers do. Hoppers still hit okay, but Bounders are really where it's at. So if you can fit them with points, Bounders are going to be worth taking over Hoppers, I think, every single time. And Herd are basically dead. The big problem, and I'll just go over this briefly because I've been talking about this ad nauseum for the Lord only knows how long, for at least an hour here. Thanks to my Twitch chat for talking this through with me. It's a lot of thinking, and I appreciate you guys all hanging out and giving me your thoughts and pointing out things that I'm misunderstanding or getting wrong or whatever. But they're slow. D6 plus 3 is slow. So they're not going to be charging at your opponent. Your opponent is going to be setting up to charge at you if they have anything that's fast. Okay? They only have a 6-up save and 1 health, so the whole unit only has 12 wounds on a 6-up save, which is quite bad. They can't control objectives. And while you can use the Squig boss to give them crit mortals, and I think it's on a 2-up, so it's pretty reliable. And it does explicitly say the Fang-filled Gob, right? So it does work even though it's companions. The problem is that because the Herd is slow and doesn't have strike first and can't give your opponent strike last, it means the probability that your opponent is fighting the Squigs before the Squigs fight back is high. And even if you were to give them a 5-up ward with Sneaky Snufflers, it's still only 12 wounds worth of 5-up ward. So a lot of things are just going to be either deleting half of the unit, in which case you're either losing 6 out of 10 Squigs or all of your herders. That only leaves 4 Squigs left, right? Or they'll probably just be wiping the unit in its entirety. So they're, even if they could, like, even if you do buff them up and reinforce them, they're probably still not going to do any damage because they're really slow. And they can't take objectives. Like, the only thing that Squigs have going for them right now is that they are the cheapest unit in the book. They're the only unit that costs 100, right? They're the cheapest unit of the book, sitting here at 100, but Bounders are only 120. So for 20 more points, you take a unit that's actually good. So I hope you guys still have a lot of Bounders from last season, because that's what we're looking at here. Here's another list. This is more... I don't even know what the difference is here. This list runs 2 boss on Cave Squigs, and we're still, of course, taking Loon Touched and the Clammy Cowl. But here we're taking... So this one doesn't run any Rock Guts. This one is just like straight up, right? This is like a Rock Guts list, right? This one is just like mass Squigs. This is really the Squigalanche list. It's 3 drops. It is 2 casts, and it's 3 drops. This one over here is 2 casts and 2 drops. And this one here is 2 casts and 2 drops. Oops. Right, because these are both running the same heroes. The difference is this one has Rock Guts, and this one is like just more Bounders or whatever. So yeah, Bounders, 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 Herd. The only reason that Herd is here is because it fit exactly at 200 points, but this could easily be 10 Hoppers. So the 10 Hoppers might even be the way to go, to be honest, but you can fit 2 times Herd here. They can just, I guess, be annoying and run out in front and screen and just get in the way and die, right? But 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 Bounders, 40 Bounders, 60 Bounders, and then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 Bounders again. Here we have Herd in 1 brick, but again, this could be Hoppers. You'd have 40 points left here, right? So I don't know if this is better as Hoppers or whatever, but this one is just Scragrot, right? This is 2 Cave Squigs, Loon Boss on Cave Squigs, and a Fungoid. This is a Scragrot and a Cave Squig. This is Scragrot and a Cave Squig. And then with like Rock Guts. So unfortunately, if you're playing Squigs, I think you're kind of torn between some casters, some Rock Guts, and some Bounders. That's going to be kind of the core of your list. And then Hoppers are fine if you need to save some points. I think, what is it? 40 and 30, so it's 70 points cheaper. So if you need to save yourself like 140 points or something like that, right? Like you can kind of downgrade to some Hoppers or whatever. But if you're interested in playing Gitz this season, get some Rock Guts painted up. I mean, if you're interested in Squigs, paint some Rock Guts. The look for Trolls, though, is looking significant. Oh, and by the way, we're probably just going to take our own Manifestation lore, right? We're probably just going to take Manifestation, the dank Manifestations or whatever, for everything. It's probably the right call. The moon is nice, but you know what? Maybe not. The moon isn't the moon. I'd probably take dank Manifestations here, and then in the other Manifestations, I might even take Primal Energy, because we only really need the moon for the Rock Guts, right? Re-rolling the movement is not amazing, but we'll see after some games. But I like Primal Energy. I just like damage, right? Damage, healing, it's all good. Yeah, we'll see. I might feel differently after a couple games here, but... So, some troll lists. So I wrote 3 different troll lists. I wrote one that's heavy on magic, I wrote one that's heavy on cavalry, and then I wrote one that's heavy on trolls. They're all playing the dank Manifestations. Let's look at the first one. So we have Trug, who is our general, with our reinforced 2 reinforced units of Rock Guts, and one of them is going to be his bodyguard, so that's cool. And then a Dankhold. Dankholds are really good because they have Wade and Smash. So it's their rampage, they get to just move 6 inches, you don't have to roll, they just move 6 inches, and then they deal on I think it's 2-up D3 mortals to every enemy unit that's within 1 inch of him. So and this is before you even attack, so he gets to deal D3 mortals before your opponent even gets to swing at you, and that movement is going to be really key for hitting wizards and priests and infantry heroes in the backline. Your opponent's going to have to stay further back than they want to, probably, especially if he's coming in off one of the flanks, like to go around one of the units, right? Like they're screening against the rock guts, and then here comes the Dankhold off on the side. So very strong. We're playing Scragrot, because Scragrot's good, 2 casts for 1 drop, and then we're playing 2 different fungoid cave shamans, because we, like I said, this is a 5 cast list, because we're also taking Loon Touched, which gives the one of the fungoid cave shamans 1 additional power level, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just gonna double check that real quick, because I'm pretty sure that that's correct. Where are you? Should be just right up here. Yeah, Loon Touched. Yeah, add 1 to its casting rolls. Oh, okay. So it's +1 to cast. So it's only 4 casts. But still, you have 2 +1 casters. I think Scragrot. Does Scragrot still have +1 to cast? Because maybe he doesn't. No, he doesn't. So you get a +1 to cast wizard. So that's cool. Okay, second one, Cavalry. So here you'll see again in all 3 lists, it's the same. It's like 2 × 6 rock guts and a Dankhold with Trug in his regiment. Okay, with bodyguard. Feels pretty good. And then here we just have that. This is the Cavalry one, so we have a Loon Boss on Cave Squig with Loon Touched and the Clammy Cowl, just as we were in the, because it's good. And then he's got 2 units of Bounders and a unit of Hoppers. So this is like, you know, you have 2 units of Rock Guts, 1 with a Dankhold, 1 with Trug, right? They're going to move off and be 2 sort of anvil-y, annoying things sort of in the center of the board. And then on one side of the board, you're going to have a Bounders with Squig Boss, and on the other side of the board, you'll have Bounders and Hoppers. So you have lots of cavalry running up the middle, running up the flanks. Maybe the Bounders are just going to try to pin and die early while the Rock Guts move forward. And then everything else is just going to be like lots of damage, lots of smashing, lots of good. And then I wrote a list that was heavy on Trolls. So here we have the same thing, Trug with 2 × 6 Rock Guts, and a Dankhold, and a Trug Boss. The Trug Boss is still really good. His ability to give +1 attacks to a unit of Rock Guts is strong. He heals a little bit better, but his overall his damage isn't as good. He's a little bit more survivable. This Cowl is on the wrong unit, because we're going to actually give him an enhancement. If we take the Trug Boss, we're going to give him an enhancement. So the Clammy Cowl, -1 to hit rolls, we're going to actually give him the Leering Gitz Shield. We're going to give the Trug Boss the Gitz Shield. And then you can play him more aggressively, right? Because what the Gitz Shield does is each time an unmodified hit roll for an attack that targets this unit is a 1, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the attack has been resolved. So you throw him into a horde, right? You throw him into a horde. If they kill him, fine. But if they don't kill him, or even if they do kill him, he's probably going to be bouncing attacks back, right? If you're throwing like, 40 dice, which is what Stabas are going to throw, he's bouncing back 6 or 7 mortal wounds. So, and this can spike. So it makes your opponent feel afraid, and that's part of the fun. So let me know what you think. Hit me up on Discord, and I don't know, man. Trolls looking good. Squigs are looking good, but only if you're gonna run like 60 Bounders, right? If you're gonna run like 60 Bounders and 20 Hoppers, like, you can do it. But at least we're like 2-3 drops, right? Anyway, like, subscribe. Wah.